Yesterday was an absolute firestorm in regards to Brock Purdy's slander and all these national media talking heads discrediting, discounting, and basically flat out coming after the San Francisco 49ers quarterback. So I, along with many other content creators, people who covered the San Francisco 49ers, or other even national talking heads, came to Brock Purdy's defense. And honestly, it's been really cool to see. So not only have we highlighted some of the insane takes, but I think it's also important to highlight the takes of people going to bat for Brock Purdy, for people who are really standing and pounding the table to say this conversation that you guys are trying to spin is ridiculous and it deserves to be called out. And I think it's a crazy element right now of the NFL kind of discourse, but I believe it deserves to be discussed. And I want to share this take with you. So Louis Riddick, I think, in my opinion, I respect him very much so as one of these media guys, because I do think he is of his core a football guy, a guy who can evaluate, a guy who I know has been in the discussion to be general manager, for some organizations. He's done some interviews and things like that. So he's at least in that category to be able to have that type of conversation. And I know he does, he calls games and he's on shows and he does all those types of things, but he gives a very passionate conversation about why this whole Brock Purdy stuff is kind of crazy. And I think it's worth a listen. So take a listen right here to Louis Riddick kind of calling out all the BS on all these Brock Purdy narratives and the way they're moving the goalposts and all those different types of things. Take a listen right here.
If I said Brock Purdy is the weak link of the 49ers, is that ridiculous?
Come on now. See, now we're crossing into that realm of I got to blame somebody. I got to put somebody down. I got to talk crap about somebody. The guy was having a historic season. Yep. Okay, he is as efficient as they come. Ask Kyle Shanahan whether or not he thinks that he's the weak link of his football team. You can point to a number of different players. How about the right side of their offensive line? Ooh. Keep an eye on that position group this Sunday when they go against Aiden Hutchinson. Yeah. Keep an eye on Colton McKevitz when he's lined up against Aiden Hutchinson one-on-one, if you want to find a weak link. Ooh. Okay, Brock Purdy, come on now. Come on. He's not the weak link.
What is the end of that sentence, though? Because what exactly is he? The last few weeks, he has crashed back to earth at least a little bit. The game against Baltimore, the game against Green Bay, he did not look the way he had looked much of the season.
There are great quarterbacks in this league who have had spurts where you sit there and you go, what's wrong with these guys? Patrick Mahomes has had moments, and I'm not comparing Patrick Mahomes to Brock Purdy, where we sat there and we looked at Patrick and we're going, is he broken? People use those phrases, right? Patrick Mahomes is broken. Patrick Mahomes isn't as good as he was anymore. Patrick Mahomes can't be good without Tyreek Hill, et cetera, et cetera. Guys go through highs and lows. Baltimore had him confused. He was seeing things against Baltimore. Mike McDonald's a damn good defensive coordinator. Baltimore's going to be in the Super Bowl more than likely. Hold on. Let me go back there. Forget that part. Forget I said that, Kansas City.
Games on Tuesday?
But I'm just going to say this. Look, Brock Purdy is one of those guys who operates this offense at a very, very high level, makes good decisions. The wet weather obviously affected him. That is an issue going forward, and it's going to continue to be an issue until he corrects that. But as far as his decision-making accuracy, the ability to make all the throws in command of the offense, come on.
Yeah, I mean,
not the weak link.
Calling him the weak link, I think there is some deciding factors there. Like, he's the link that you might want to test, but he hasn't been the weak link. He's up and down through the course. Well, he's been up most of the season, but he's down when they lose some players. So I think arguing that Brock Purdy is on the level as a Josh Allen would be foolish. He's not that guy. But he is a top tier,
physically,
in the words of Cam Newton, game manager, which has showed his ability to, in this game, he had a big comeback in the game, which is something we thought that
Can I just say this real quick?
Go.
Okay, so San Francisco is playing Cleveland, right? This is one of the games that all the people who want to bash Brock Purdy point to. Right. Well, how did he look against the Cleveland Browns? They lost that game. Do you remember that he drove them in the position to win the game?
Right, they missed a field goal.
The kicker missed a field goal?
Yeah.
So what?
Context.
Anyone want to tell me about that contest? Like, does that matter to you? Does it matter to you that he actually played well? Does
I
that
think
matter or not?
No, but what matters are two things, I think, for the purposes of the way people view him. One, that he sort of got plugged into what we perceive to be the best coached offense in the league with unbelievable talent that we saw Jimmy Garoppolo take to a Super Bowl. And two, the fact that he was the last pick in the entire draft. People just don't lose that bias.
They refuse to let it go.
Reason.
They refuse.
So but there was a moment in time not that long ago when he was the leading candidate for MVP in the league. He had the shortest betting odds for MVP of the league.
This is the thing that frustrates people, right? And I know RC said it as well, right? It frustrates him that he has to have this conversation that Brock Purdy was in the MVP conversation.
Should he not have been?
He absolutely should have been. He was I asked Himbo, hey, Himbo, send me some stats. He's like, just say first in everything. Because that's what Purdy was for the majority of the season. First, you can blame the situation he fell into. You can blame the players he is. You can account all of that. But here's the deal. You still have to go out and execute. Right. You still got to go do your part. I know for a long time he threw the most tight window passes in the NFL with the highest completion rate during that. All of those things matter. You still have to do your part because you're surrounded with talent. Doesn't mean the most talented team doesn't always win. So it's a slight at Purdy because he can't do.
It is a slight at Purdy, and I think that it's unfair in some contexts. But just looking at the stats, anybody can look at the stats. I think that when we have a hard time is putting Purdy in these conversations is when you watch the games of certain players. They have a different impact on the game. I think
for sure.
Josh Allen comes up, Mahomes, obviously, Lamar Jackson. So when you're talking about an MVP solely based on stats, any fool on the street can look at
hold on. See, earlier in this show, we're arguing down Josh Allen because he doesn't win.
That's exactly win.
But when Brock Purdy wins, it's like, well, you know what? So he doesn't quite give me the same kind of feelings that these other guys do because he's not the same athlete. See, we moved the goalpost on the dude.
It's not about feelings and it's not about moving the goalpost.
Yes, it is.
It is.
And I love kind of what Lewis is talking about. One of his main points kind of mirrors one of my main points that I've discussed in the last couple of days about all these narratives and why people have such a hard time talking about Brock Purdy, the perception of Brock Purdy, because everyone wants and believes that the only way you can be an extremely good quarterback in this league is if you're Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. But again, at the end of the day, it takes a very, very, very sharp skill set to be able to run Kyle Shanahan's scheme the way that Brock does and to be able to execute it and overcome some of the physical limitations that he does have. That there is just a disconnect because of the new standard of what quarterback play is supposed to look like. And that's what it is. It's all an optics thing. It's like he doesn't look like Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't look like Josh Allen. He doesn't look like these other guys. So he can't be those guys. And as a result of not being those guys, that means he can't be in that category. And again, it's a flawed way of looking at this quarterback landscape. You can play quarterback and be successful being a quarterback in multiple different ways. You look over my right shoulder, you have two Hall of Fame quarterbacks for the San Francisco 49ers who had dramatic difference in play styles. You have Steve Young, who was kind of like one of the OG mobile quarterbacks who can shake and bake and break tackles and make plays outside of structure and do some pretty amazing things. And then you have Joe Montana, who is your prototypical West Coast under center, play action, quick game, just a surgical quarterback. They're completely different. And they've both found success. And again, up until Tom Brady won all those Super Bowls, everyone thought Joe Montana was the GOAT. And he played more similarly to Brock than Brock played to Steve Young. So, and again, those aren't just, I'm not comparing them. We're talking about play style. And so because of the current state and perception of play style, Brock is going to get knocked because he doesn't fit the mold of the new style of quarterback. And so that's fine. But again, that leaves no conversation for there to be any nuance about anything else. So I think that's why we see the state of, quarterback discourse and what it is. It's sad to a certain extent, but It is what it is. It's made it feel like it's 49ers versus the world. Makes it feels like everyone's out to get us and out to see us fail. And I think there's power in that. I do. And especially when you're up against some hardened competitors like the 49ers have, the core group of guys that they have. I think they would feed off that. I think that the fact that all this talk, all this doubt, and just discrediting what they've accomplished, I think that adds fuel to the fire. So we'll see, man. This clearly is going to be a conversation that is going to be ongoing. It's only picked up steam since that Christmas game, and it's going to continue to be one where you're going to have people shouting from the rooftops that he's overrated, and then you're going to have people shouting from the rooftops to say give him his credit. Where do you find yourself kind of in this interesting divide, in this interesting time? I want to hear from you in the comments below, and as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.